Hi all, just wanted to go through a little demonstration. I thought it'd be a little easier than a show and tell so you could see the screens better on these. So I want to show you a little bit. This is the two edges that I have. This is the Edge 1000. It retails for 500 bucks. This is the Edge 520. I think this is a much better deal. I think it's $250 right now. The biggest difference in pricing is the Edge 1000 one. It's actually older, but it's the top of the line one. It has navigation. I really don't feel navigation is worth the money. I usually use my phone. It's very, as my kids would say, laggy and doesn't communicate well, and I don't find very useful. That might change at some point, but don't feel it is. The biggest advantage when this one came out, if you're a Strava fan, Strava segments are, they pop on this 520. It now integrates with Strava. I'm not a big Strava fan, but when I ride with people who are Strava fans, if you don't know the segments, then they flip and take off and leave you in the dust. It's just really nice to have a little heads up on that. This is also touchscreen. The 520 is not, so you have to use the more traditional buttons with that, where this is a nice touchscreen. I just wanted to go through how I like to set these up and what I like to look at. First is the ride profiles. I think you can have up to 9 or 10 ride profiles. I used to get pretty carried away and have a lot of different ones, sort of gone down to 3. The biggest difference you want is when you race, you don't want the automatic start and stop. And when you train, you don't want to have to stop. You won't want to have to think about stopping at every stoplight and stop sign and things like that. So just go through that. When I train, I like to keep a couple things exactly the same on every one. So I always, my eyes always go to the top. I always like heart rate at the top. You can put up to 10 things on this, or down to just 1, I believe. But heart rate always at the top of everything I do. The next important metric to me is the power 10, power 30s. Actually, sorry, that's how I race. This is average power, so I know what my average power is for that entire ride, where I'm at if I'm on my goal for what I set out to do that day, or the power 10s. If you do not have rolling power or power smoothing, or an average of 10, 20, 30 seconds, you're going to be sort of lost, because your power number will go from 300 to 100 to blah blah blah. It really won't mean much. So you definitely want an average power when you see power. That was my first mistake when I went out. I went out without having that, and it really almost means nothing. Speed, average speed. I really like seeing descent, total descent and ascent, because this way sometimes you feel like you're just going nowhere. And that's the great thing about, you'll look down at your power and understand that you are. But I always feel like sometimes I feel like I'm getting a flat or something. So I like to know if I'm actually climbing and it's sort of a false flat that really doesn't feel like it, but you are. So I like to see that. And then once again, average heart rate, just so I sort of know where I am in that. So for instance, GGT, we're obviously very concerned about time of day as we ride out for 30 minutes and back. So you can see that I just have much more casual settings on this. I always have the heart rate up front. Let's go home. Racing, I really have gone back and forth with a couple different screens, but this is really what I've settled on. Once again, heart rate, rolling 10, rolling 30s. Depending on the race, you might switch this up. For a flatter race, to have that shorter average is okay. For a longer race, when you're on a lot of flats, I like the longer 30 seconds or so, because that's okay to have that average of 30 seconds. If there's a lot of hills or you're climbing, you want sort of a shorter rolling average because there's more change within that topography. Average power, normalized power, this is going to tell us where we're at. What is our VI? So it's sort of a game that I play with myself. I just try to get those closer and closer and closer together. You can also have, I believe that you can have the metric of VI, but this means a lot more to me, because I can watch, watt by watt, if I'm getting further apart between that normalized and average power, or if I'm getting closer. So I am very focused on that. Average heart rate, where am I at in that race? I have this best bike split plan in my head. I know exactly, I can look at my data, know what watts I'm going to be, but if I'm going out and my heart rate's an average of 150, I know that I am sort of having a shit day and I need to rethink that plan, so I'd probably bring that down. So I know just to balance off the power of where I'm at and the heart rate, just sort of a good metric for understanding how your race day is going and how you might want to change that up. Speed and average speed, I never used to put that in, but I found myself just doing too much mental math that I realized that it's worth having there. So everybody wants to know how they did. So as far as how you set it up, I think they're basically all the same. You want to go to, can go here. Once again, set that up. We're going to go back and go to, you put your settings in. Obviously I don't have any. I'm going to go history. Here's all the rides, what you've done, what you haven't done. Personal, you can change that. And settings, that's your settings button. This is activity profiles, is where you set that up. I could add a different one for maybe hilly racing or anything like that. You can have all the data screens. Sensors, here's your heart rate monitors, power monitors, just like anything you want to A&T, connect those. Really encourage you to get a D-fly. This tells you all the metrics about how you're shifting and how you're doing. It's amazing how many thousands of times that you'll shift on a hilly course. I think they're like 45 bucks, 50, I don't know, they're under $100. If you have DI, it's totally worth having a D-fly. Let's see, you can Bluetooth connect most things pair to your smartphone, so as soon as you're done, they're going to automatically upload. All kinds of fun things are in that setting. So hope that gives you a little background of how to set that up, what to look at. Once again, it all comes down to intensity factor and VI when you race. Key to racing.